The price you paid for gas this morning is being decided right now, inside a corridor 6 nautical miles wide, the Strait of Hormuz. And the ship the Pentagon just sent to solve it is one Congress called a waste of money. March 17th, 2026. Open-source satellite trackers capture a warship cutting through the Strait of Malacca at high speed. Not a carrier, not a destroyer. An amphibious assault ship, USS Tripoli LHA-7. On her flight deck, up to 20 F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters. In her hull, 2,200 Marines of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. Destination, the Strait of Hormuz. Here is why that should confuse you. Operation Epic Fury has been running for 3 weeks. The United States has struck over 7,000 targets inside Iran. More than 100 naval vessels destroyed. The missile factories that armed Hormuz are rubble. 2 carrier strike groups hold the perimeter. Lincoln commands the Arabian Sea. Ford locks down the Red Sea. A 3rd carrier, the Bush, is crossing the Atlantic. And yet Hormuz is still closed. Over 1,100 vessels sit stranded in the Gulf. Crude oil has surged from $70 to over $100 a barrel. At least 21 merchant ships have been attacked since February 28th. 8 seafarers are dead. The most powerful navy in human history solved 90% of the problem. But Hormuz does not grade on a curve. Hormuz runs on absolute certainty, and 90% is not 100. A single mine, a single missile, a single tanker burning in the corridor. That is all the equation needs to keep the insurance market shut and the shipping lanes empty. The strait does not close by force. It closes by fear. And fear only needs one example.
So why is the Pentagon sending a ship Congress called a waste of money to solve the problem 2 supercarriers could not? If you want to understand the engineering behind that decision, instead of the headlines, subscribe. Other channels tell you what happened. We solve the equation underneath it. To understand why Tripoli matters, you first need to understand why the carriers refuse to enter. The Persian Gulf is a bathtub, 540 nautical miles long, nowhere wider than 210 nautical miles. A carrier strike group operating inside that bathtub loses the one asset that keeps it alive: sea room. Room to maneuver. Room to generate defensive depth against incoming missiles. Room to turn into the wind and launch aircraft. Iran spent 40 years turning that bathtub into a kill zone. The geometry is 3-dimensional. Below the surface, an estimated 5,000 to 6,000 naval mines, contact mines, bottom influence mines, and EM-52 rocket-propelled rising mines that sit on the sea floor and launch upward through the water column at 260 feet per second. On the surface, over 1,500 IRGC fast attack craft, small fiberglass hulls capable of 50 knots, many carrying a Nasser-1 anti-ship missile. Their doctrine is saturation, enough mass to overwhelm the computational capacity of any defense system. From the air, drone swarms filling radar scopes with hundreds of low-speed contacts, bleeding processing cycles from interceptor systems. And behind that noise, IRGC ballistic missiles descending at Mach 3. Stack those layers together, and the math is lethal. The time it takes our Aegis combat system to detect, classify, authorize, and fire is longer than the flight time of the weapon trying to reach us at close range. That constraint locks our supercarriers out. 100,000 tons of irreplaceable steel, 5,000 sailors, $15 billion per ship. You do not push that into a kill zone where the enemy has had 4 decades to rig every square mile. Consider the cost arithmetic. In 1988, a single Iranian contact mine cost $1,500, blew a hole through the hull of the frigate USS Samuel B. Roberts, broke the keel, flooded 2 engine rooms, wounded 10 sailors. 13 months and $89.5 million to repair. A weapon cheaper than a used motorcycle nearly sank a warship. Now multiply that risk by a $15 billion carrier with 5,000 crew. The Pentagon's risk calculus is not political. It is mathematical. And the math says, do not enter. So the carriers sit outside, in deep water, holding the choke points from a distance. But distance creates a gap. And the gap is where tankers die. The carrier air wings have done extraordinary work. Over 7,000 targets struck. Iran's air defense collapsed in hours. The missile factories are ash. But 3 gaps remain, and all 3 require a platform inside the cage. Gap 1, the air cover deficit. Lincoln operates in the Arabian Sea, roughly 500 nautical miles from the Hormuz shipping lanes. An F-35C launching from Lincoln cruises at 450 knots. That is over an hour of transit each way. 2 hours of fuel burned just getting to the fight and back. That leaves maybe 40 minutes of actual patrol time over the corridor. 3 sorties per day, per jet, and you still have gaps measured in hours. Those gaps are where Iranian Mohajer-6 surveillance drones find tankers and transmit targeting coordinates back to shore launchers. Kill the drone and you break the kill chain. But you cannot kill a drone you are not there to see. Gap 2. Epic Fury has destroyed over 30 mine-laying vessels and struck mine storage facilities on Karg Island and deep inside Iran. The good news? No new mines are being manufactured. No ships exist to lay them. Every mine cleared is one that will never be replaced. The faucet is shut. But the mines already on the seafloor are still there. You cannot bomb a mine out of the sea. You must find it, classify it, and neutralize it one at a time, in murky, current-driven water across 360 square nautical miles of seabed. The LCS mine countermeasure ships, Tulsa, Santa Barbara, and Canberra, carry the unmanned systems to do the job. Airborne laser detection from helicopters, robot sonar vehicles, acoustic decoys that trick influence mines into self-destruction, and precision kill drones that destroy what remains. 0 sailors in the water. But the ships themselves carry almost nothing for self-defense. An LCS in a minefield is slow, predictable, and vulnerable to exactly the threats that still prowl the strait. Surviving mobile missile launchers hidden in mountain tunnels, remaining fast attack craft staged in coastal coves, and Gadir-class midget submarines lurking in shallow water. Mine clearance requires a protective bubble, fighter aircraft overhead, destroyers screening the flanks, someone providing close-in defense. Gap 3. 3 fortified islands sit directly inside the shipping corridor: Abu Musa, Greater Tumb, and Lesser Tumb. Iran seized them in 1971 and turned them into unsinkable weapons platforms. Anti-ship missile batteries, coastal radar, artillery positions, IRGC garrisons. Even after 3 weeks of airstrikes, any surviving capability on those islands threatens every vessel transiting the corridor at point-blank range. Air power can suppress them. Only boots on the ground can confirm they are neutralized. 3 gaps. 1 ship solves all 3. The ship America wanted to throw away. When the Navy designed the America-class Flight Zero, they made a decision that drew fire from Congress, Marine Corps generals, and defense analysts. They removed the well deck, the flooded chamber at the bottom of every amphibious ship since World War II, the thing that launches landing craft and hovercraft. Designing an amphib without a well deck is like building a cargo truck and forgetting the bed. Congress mandated the well deck be restored on the 3rd hull. The first 2, America and Tripoli, were written off as failed experiments, ships that forgot how to be amphibious. The defense press called Tripoli the Pentagon's most expensive mistake. But the critics missed what the engineers built. Look at what the missing well deck created. The space that a well deck occupies is enormous, a ballast-flooded chamber stretching half the length of the ship. Remove it, and you unlock a doubled hangar bay, expanded aviation maintenance facilities, a fully equipped 24-bed surgical hospital, and jet fuel storage capacity that no previous amphib design could accommodate. Tripoli carries 1.3 million gallons of JP-5. That is enough fuel to sustain 20 stealth fighters in continuous combat operations without a single resupply. In April 2022, Tripoli proved the concept. Off the coast of California, 20 F-35Bs operating simultaneously from her deck. Nearly half the air wing of a $13 billion supercarrier on a ship that costs $3.5 billion. The ship they called a mistake turned out to be the most dangerous pocket carrier afloat. Now watch what it does to the 3 gaps. Gap 1 solved: persistent air cover. At 44,000 tons and $3.5 billion, Tripoli is expendable enough in the Pentagon's risk calculus to operate close to Hormuz. Not inside the bathtub, but close. Her F-35Bs are stove, short takeoff, vertical landing. No catapults needed. Operating at 100 nautical miles instead of 500 changes one variable that changes everything: time on station. An F-35B launching from Tripoli reaches the shipping lanes in 13 minutes. Time on station triples. The gap between patrols shrinks from hours to minutes. And minutes are the difference between an Iranian drone finding a tanker and an F-35B finding the drone first. Gap 2 solved: the mine clearance bubble. Tripoli provides the protective umbrella the LCS mine hunters need. F-35Bs overhead, creating a no-fly zone. Escort destroyers Robert Smalls and Rafael Peralta screening the flanks. Marines on fast boats providing close-in surface defense. The mine clearance ships can now operate inside the threat zone because someone is standing over them with a shield. Mine clearance still takes weeks, but Tripoli accelerates the timeline by protecting the sweepers instead of waiting for the sweeping to finish before escort begins. Gap 3 solved: vertical envelopment. Iran built beach defenses to stop landing craft from the sea. Tripoli has no landing craft. That was the complaint. That was the mistake. But the 31st MEU does not need landing craft. Marines insert by vertical envelopment. MV-22 Ospreys and CH-53 heavy-lift helicopters, not amphibious tractors. They fly over the minefields instead of sailing through them. They do not touch the water Iran spent decades preparing to deny. Strike teams land on Abu Musa, neutralize missile launchers and radar installations, extract whatever intelligence they can carry, and withdraw to the ship before the garrison can mount a counter. No permanent occupation, just a position that no longer shoots at tankers. The 31st MEU just finished Exercise Iron Fist 26 with the Japanese Self-Defense Force, practicing exactly this: island seizure, electronic warfare, rapid amphibious assault. 2 weeks before Hormuz called, they rehearsed the answer. But here is what makes Tripoli more than a floating airfield. The concept is called Expeditionary Advanced Base Operations, EABO, the most radical restructuring of the Marine Corps since World War II. It has never been tested in combat. Hormuz may be the first. Marines fly ashore to small islands, uninhabited coastline, or allied territory in Oman and the UAE. They establish temporary bases, HIMARS launchers, radar arrays, forward arming and refueling points, where F-35Bs and Ospreys can land, rearm, and relaunch without returning to the ship. What this creates is a kill web spanning the entire width of the strait. HIMARS firing ATACMS at 162 nautical miles, or PRISM at 270 nautical miles, can engage any fast attack craft, submarine, or mine-laying vessel. This is not theoretical.
HIMARS already sank Iranian warships during Epic Fury, firing from Bahrain. Army ATACMS have sunk multiple ships, including at least one submarine. And here is the engineering that makes EABO different. A HIMARS launcher fires, relocates in minutes, fires again from a different position. Iran cannot target what does not stay still. An EABO site is a ghost. Here today, gone in 2 hours, shooting from somewhere else by nightfall. You no longer need warships inside the strait to control the strait. Marines on shore create a firepower bubble that is cheaper, harder to find, and impossible to sink. Now look at it from Tehran's side. Defend the islands against Marine raids, and the coastline lies open to EABO. Fortify the coastline, and the islands fall. Disperse forces across all positions, and there is not enough left at any single point to stop anything. 3 responses, 3 failures. The equation has no correct answer. Because Iran spent 40 years building defenses against ships and aircraft, not against Marines who arrive by helicopter onto positions that were never supposed to be contested. Now address the objection every viewer is thinking. If Tripoli is the answer, why is Hormuz still closed? Because as of today, March 23rd, Tripoli has not arrived. She departed Okinawa on March 11th. She was tracked transiting the Strait of Malacca on March 17th. As of March 20th, she was south of Sri Lanka. Estimated arrival in theater this week. And even when she arrives, mine clearance still takes time. EABO doctrine is untested at this scale. Raiding fortified islands is high risk. The logistics of sustaining forward bases under Iranian counterfire remain unproven, and there is a cost nobody is discussing. Pulling Tripoli from Japan strips the Indo-Pacific of its only amphibious rapid reaction force. If anything escalates in the Taiwan Strait or the South China Sea while Tripoli is at Hormuz, America has a hole in its Pacific defense that will take months to fill. The Pentagon is not making this move lightly. That tells you exactly how critical Hormuz is right now. And Tripoli is not alone. The 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit out of Camp Pendleton has deployed ahead of schedule aboard USS Boxer, heading for the same theater. 2 amphibious ready groups, 2 Marine Expeditionary Units, over 4,500 Marines converging on the narrowest strait on Earth. That is not reinforcement, that is preparation. This is not a perfect solution. It is an engineering trade-off, and engineering trade-offs are honest about their costs. So go back to the question we started with. Why is the Pentagon sending a ship Congress called a waste of money to solve the problem 2 supercarriers could not? Because the equation did not ask for the best ship. It asked for the right ship. Small enough to operate where carriers cannot. Powerful enough to carry 20 stealth fighters. Cheap enough that risking it does not end the fleet. And carrying the one capability no other platform in the theater possesses. 2,200 Marines who arrive from the sky onto ground Iran never fortified against. Carriers broke 90% of the equation from outside. Tripoli solves the last 10% from inside. Not by entering the kill zone the way Iran expected, by adding a dimension Iran never built defenses against: the ground. Iran had the weapons. Iran had the trap. Iran had 40 years. Iran did not have the variable. And the variable is crossing the Indian Ocean right now. Dismissed.